The father waited for his child in front of the school gate for 10 years, a reason that brings everyone to tears.
Hello everyone, enjoy these relaxing moments while you watch.
The watch on his wrist vibrated gently. It was 6:45 a.m. Andrew stood silently by the iron fence, his eyes following each student as they walked in. Beside him, a small wooden box rested snugly in his hands, the same box he had brought here every single day, without fail, for 10 years. A deep voice called from behind. "Andrew, here again." Andrew turned around. It was Mr. Julian, the former school guard, now retired, but he still stopped by occasionally. "Yes, I'm used to it, Julian. You really believe Clara's still alive?" Andrew looked at his old friend, his eyes red. "I don't need certainty. I just believe. And I'll keep waiting." Julian sighed and stepped closer. "I don't want to make you sad, but it's been 10 years, Andrew. No trace. No phone call. Not even a letter." "I know," Andrew interrupted, "but I also know she'll come back here. She once told me that if she ever got lost, she'd find her way back to where her father was waiting." Julian had nothing more to say. He looked at the wooden box and asked softly. "Today's her birthday, isn't it?" "Yeah. 18. If she were still here." Andrew gently opened the lid, revealing a tiny wooden doll with finely carved hair, a pleated skirt, and eyes rounded as if alive. She loved dolls. "I promised I'd give her a hand-carved one for her 18th birthday. Just like her. But, she never got to receive it." Julian looked at his friend, choked with emotion. "You still kept that promise, even when no one asked you to." Andrew shook his head. "I didn't do it because of a promise. I did it because I'm her father." The school bell rang. The students rushed to class. The courtyard fell silent. Julian placed a hand on Andrew's shoulder. "Want to grab a coffee? A new cafe just opened near the old bakery." Andrew gave a faint smile. "No. I'll stay a little longer." Julian understood. He nodded and stepped back, then turned and walked away. But Andrew remained there, his gaze piercing through time, back to another morning 10 years ago. Clara had skipped out of the gate, waving. "Daddy! Look!" She held up a small piece of wood, already bearing a few carved lines. Andrew laughed and reached out to take it. "Beautiful. What did you carve today?" "I carved my cat. But my teacher didn't like it. Said I was doodling during math." "When did you do this?" "In my workbook. I got sleepy, so I drew instead." Andrew shook his head with a chuckle. "Well, don't draw in class next time. But I love this cat. Looks just like it." Clara looked up, eyes shining. "I want to open a woodcarving workshop someday. I want to be an artist. Then I'll do it with you." "Really?" "Really. I'll be the carpenter, and you'll be the artist. The best team ever." Clara laughed joyfully. That laughter still echoed somewhere nearby, even after 10 years had passed. The sound of footsteps on the tiled ground pulled Andrew out of his memory. A woman in a black suit approached, her eyes cautious. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Andrew Miller?" He nodded. "I'm Lucy, a reporter from the Voice of Hope. I heard from some students, is it true you've stood here every day for 10 years? Andrew looked at the young woman, answering slowly. "I don't expect people to believe. I just do what I have to do." Lucy pulled out a notepad, quickly jotting things down. "So, your daughter, Clara, went missing exactly on her 8th birthday?" "No. A month before. I was planning to give her this gift," he held up the wooden box, "on her birthday. But she never came back." "Was there an investigation?" "Yes. Police. The school. They said she ran away. Teenage angst, All nonsense. Lucy bit her lip. I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect. But maybe, if I wrote a story about you, someone might speak up. Andrew looked at her, his expression softening. Do you have kids? No, not yet. When you do, you'll understand. Some things don't need evidence. Just a heart. Lucy remained silent, then gently put away her notepad. I won't bother you anymore. But if you change your mind, here's my card. Andrew nodded, saying nothing. Lucy bowed her head and walked away. Evening came. Andrew returned to the old wooden house on the edge of town. On the wall hung the woodcarving Clara had made a dancing cat. Dust covered it thickly. He didn't let anyone clean it. On the table sat a small picture frame Clara at age 7, hugging the first wooden doll her father had made for her. Andrew whispered. Where are you, Clara? I've never stopped calling your name. A knock at the door. He opened it. It was Helen, the longtime neighbor, a retired teacher. Helen. I heard from the guard you still go to the school every day. I brought some pastries. I remember Clara liked apple flavor. Andrew smiled with gratitude. Thank you. Want to come in? Helen nodded and stepped inside. Today's her birthday, right? Yes. You still have her drawings, don't you? They're all in the box. Helen grew pensive. When I was still teaching, I saw Clara many times. She often drew in class. I remember the last time I saw her, she was being called to the principal's office. Andrew froze. What? Helen, what did you just say? That day, she was scolded for drawing in class. Then called to Mr. Martin's office. And then? I never saw her again. I didn't think much of it at the time. Andrew clenched his hands. Helen, are you sure? Do you remember clearly? Yes. Very clearly. Because that day. Clara cried. Andrew shot up. For the first time in years, he felt his heart pounding. Helen, can you come to the school with me? I want to talk to the principal. Helen nodded. I'll go with you. If I remember anything else, I'll say it all. Outside, a light rain began to fall. But inside Andrew, something had awakened, not weariness, but rage. The next morning, Andrew put on his old dark brown coat, the pocket still holding a note with the former principal's name, Mr. Martin Richards. Helen stood at the gate, holding an umbrella and a small bag of pastries. Are you sure about this, Andrew? Helen looked at him uncertainly. More sure than ever. I can't ignore that detail. Clara was summoned to the principal's office, and then vanished. Everything started there. But it's been so long. Martin's retired. He might not even remember. But I remember everything. Clara didn't run away. She was forced to disappear. Helen said nothing. The early spring breeze carried dust and an undefined unease. Together, they walked to the old mansion where Martin lived in retirement. The rusty iron gate stood ajar. Inside, the garden was overgrown and wild. Helen, should I knock? Wait. I'll talk first. I used to be his colleague. Might be easier. Andrew nodded. Helen knocked 3 times. After a moment, the door creaked open. A tall, silver-haired man in a black sweater appeared. It was Martin Richards. Helen. Good heavens, it's been years. Hello, Martin. We're here about an old matter. This is Andrew Miller, Clara's father. Martin's expression immediately changed. His eyes sharpened, and his voice dropped. Clara. I remember. She dropped out without notice. That happened a long time ago. Andrew stepped forward. You were the last person to see my daughter. Helen remembers that you summoned her to your office because she was drawing in class. After that, no one saw her again. Martin crossed his arms. I'm not the police. I don't owe anyone answers to unfounded accusations. Helen just wants to help. I only want you to confirm one last time, what did you say to Clara that day? And what happened after? I filed a report. The police investigated. The girl was rebellious, often drew in class, reacted poorly to teachers. She probably ran away under pressure. I wasn't the last to see her. Andrew gritted his teeth. You're lying. Clara never ran away. I'm her father. I know. Martin shrugged. I have nothing more to say. If you came to accuse me, I'll call the police. Helen stopped Andrew. We just want the truth, Martin. For your conscience's sake, tell us, how did Clara leave your office that day? I don't remember, Martin said curtly. Now if you'll excuse me. The door slammed shut. Andrew stood still before the gate. His hands trembled with anger. He knows something, Helen whispered. I won't stop. I'll find out, Andrew said softly, like a vow. That night, Andrew sat at his desk. He opened his old laptop and began searching for anything on Martin Richards. After a while, he found a small news site mentioning his name connected to a reform center in the Green Ridge Mountains. The center was called the Haven Youth Development Center. Martin was a founding stakeholder. Andrew muttered, Reform Center. He clicked through the related articles. A few from 5 years ago accused the place of disciplinary re-education, cutting off family contact, and isolating minors deemed unruly. A comment appeared under one of the articles. My sister was sent there without warning. When she came back, she stopped talking to anyone. Posted by Samuel_Mitchell 89. Andrew immediately messaged Samuel. Hello. I'm Andrew Miller. My daughter might have been there too. Could we talk? He waited in front of the screen, heart pounding. 10 minutes later, a message popped up. Can you call me? My number is 622XXX. Andrew called right away. A male voice answered, probably around 30. Hello. Samuel. This is Clara Miller's father. My daughter disappeared 10 years ago after seeing Principal Martin Richards. I just found his name connected to the Haven. My daughter might have been sent there. You said Martin Richards? Samuel exclaimed. Yes. He was the last person to see my daughter. Damn. You should know, the Haven isn't just a youth rehabilitation center. It's where the childhoods of hundreds of kids were buried. They call it a correctional facility, but in reality, it's a prison. Andrew held his breath. My sister, Lucy, was sent there when she was just 14. All because she refused to study medicine. My family signed the papers, convinced it was a way to fix her rebellion. What was life like for her there? She was locked in isolation, forbidden from calling, writing, or contacting anyone outside. Forced to learn moral reformation lessons, beaten if she disobeyed. When I picked her up 3 years later, she didn't smile anymore. It was like her soul had been broken. Andrew clenched his fists. I need to go there. I need to know if my daughter was ever in that place. You won't find any records. They erased the files of kids without legal guardianship. But I still have some photos. Send me a picture of your daughter. Andrew immediately sent a photo of Clara at age 14. As he waited, he couldn't take his eyes off the screen. A few minutes later, Samuel replied with a photo of a group of students lined up at the gates of the Haven. A girl stood at the corner, head slightly bowed, hair cut short, wearing a gray uniform. Andrew zoomed in. His heart nearly stopped. The photo was blurry, the girl looked different, but that face, those eyes, unmistakable. It's Clara. Oh my God. A message from Samuel popped up. I'm 80% sure this is the girl from your picture. You need to act fast. That place shows signs of reopening. Andrew trembled. He no longer had any doubts. The next morning, before dawn, Andrew knocked on the door of an old friend, James Owens, who had once worked at the local newspaper. James, I need to publish an article. About the Haven. About Clara. About Martin. James rubbed his eyes, frowning. Andrew, I don't want to sound harsh, but you don't have solid proof. The paper won't run something like this. It's a legal risk. I have a photo. I have a witness. I have the name of a stakeholder. Isn't one child's life worth the risk to write the truth? James was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. All right. I'll write it. But you have to be ready. Once this goes public, people will come after you. I've waited 10 years. There's nothing left to fear. James looked at him. God help you, Andrew. That evening, the first article about Clara and the Haven was published on James's personal blog, along with the blurry photo of Clara in the uniform. But the initial reaction was harsh. There goes that crazy old man again. He's probably making this up for attention. There's no evidence. That place shut down years ago. Andrew read every comment. His eyes welled up, but he didn't break. He turned to Clara's photo and whispered. I won't let the world forget you. Even if everyone turns their back. That night, Andrew sat in his dark room, eyes glued to his phone screen. James's article hadn't gained much traction. The negative comments far outnumbered the positive ones. The weight of helplessness pressed on him like a stone. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I used to work at the Haven. I believe your article. Meet me at 9 a.m., Vineyard Cafe, corner of Liberty Avenue. Thomas R. Andrew sat up straight. His hands trembled with hope. He replied. I'll be there. Please don't disappear. The next morning, he arrived at Vineyard on time. The small cafe, tucked beneath an old tree, was quiet. The waiter nodded at him in recognition. Andrew sat at a corner table and ordered an espresso. 9:05, 9:10. Then 9:15. A middle-aged man in a light blue shirt and baseball cap walked in. His face was gaunt, eyes alert. When he saw Andrew, he nodded and approached. You're Andrew. Yes. And you are. Thomas Reed. I used to be the security manager at the Haven. Andrew stared at him. Did you ever meet my daughter? Clara Miller. Right? Thomas reached into his pocket and pulled out an old photo. This is a list of students from that year. She's on it. Reason listed, failure to comply with educational guidelines signed by guardian, Rebecca Saunders. Andrew froze. Rebecca? No, that can't be. It can. I was the one who verified the documents when Clara was brought in. She signed the consent forms to send the girl away without notifying you. That was illegal. Do you still have the file? No. They ordered me to destroy everything after 3 years. But I secretly kept a few scraps. I knew something wasn't right. Andrew lowered his head, his voice hoarse. Do you know what happened to Clara in there? Thomas looked around, then spoke softly. They called it a reform center, but it was a correctional camp. Kids were locked up, given minimal rations, isolated if they resisted. I once saw a girl scream for her mom after her communication was cut off. Andrew clenched his fists. Clara wanted to be an artist. She refused to pursue a specialized track. Was that enough to label her a delinquent? Thomas nodded. There, if you didn't fit the mold, you were broken. I left after a student took her own life. I couldn't take it anymore. Would you be willing to testify? Thomas hesitated. I'm raising a young child, Andrew. I can't reveal my identity. But I can give you documents. Photos. And some audio recordings I managed to keep. Andrew exhaled, placing a hand on the table. Please. I have no one else left. Thomas handed him a small USB drive. I'll stay in touch. But don't mention my name. Thank you, Thomas. You're the first light I've seen in 10 years of darkness. Thomas stood, nodded, and left, leaving Andrew alone in the silent cafe. Andrew held the USB like a treasure, heart pounding. That night, Andrew called James over. The two sat in front of the laptop, opening the files on the USB. There were 3 folders. Internal recordings. Cell photos. Extracted documents. James opened an audio file. A man's deep voice echoed. This girl isn't cooperating. Put her in room 3. But she's only 14. The sooner, the better. If we don't reform her, who will? James shuddered. This is enough to trigger an investigation. Andrew clenched his fist. We have to publish it all online. No outlet will dare to run it, but people will share it. James nodded. I'll handle that. But you need to be careful. Powerful people won't let this slide. The next morning, a new post appeared with the headline. How my daughter was taken, the horrifying truth about the Haven. Along with a photo of Clara, audio clips, and images of isolation rooms. The article quickly went viral, gathering thousands of shares. The hashtag Justice for Clara spread rapidly across social media. Messages poured into Andrew's phone. I was a student there too. I want to share my story. I was thrown into the Haven for loving someone of the same sex. My child went missing. Now I understand. One message from an unknown number read. Mr. Andrew, I'm Christina Moore, an independent journalist. I'm collecting evidence on the Haven. May I meet with you? Andrew replied. Tomorrow morning, park in front of St. Michael's Church, 10 a.m. The next day, Christina arrived with a notebook full of scribbles. She sat down, opened it, and looked him in the eye. Mr. Andrew, I want to write a full investigative piece. But I need you to clarify a few things. Go ahead, I'm ready. Do you know why no one believed your story all these years? Andrew stayed silent. Because of Rebecca. She was highly respected in the community. She was on the parent council, a school advisor. People believed her over a crazy old carpenter. Andrew nodded. I know. But I never imagined she'd sign the papers to send Clara away and say nothing. Christina continued, I found out Rebecca used to work as an assistant to Martin Richards. They've had a professional relationship for years. She referred potential candidates to the center. My God, Andrew whispered. I'm filing requests with the Department of Education to confirm this. But it'll take time. Meanwhile, you have to be careful. If Rebecca and Martin are still in contact, they'll fight back. Let them come. I have nothing left to lose. Christina smiled. You haven't lost Clara. You still have hope. That afternoon, Andrew sat at his desk, opening an old drawer where he used to keep Clara's letters. His hand trembled as he touched a forgotten scrap in the far corner. A letter he had never read. Dad. If one day I'm no longer here, don't believe anyone except your heart. I didn't run away. I didn't leave you. I was forced. Everything was taken from me. I will try to survive. If I can, I'll leave a trace. Please believe me. Clara. A tear fell onto the words. Andrew held the letter to his chest, motionless. That night, he heard a noise outside the door. When he opened it, no one was there. But in the mailbox, there was a small piece of wood. A tiny doll, intricately carved but not in his style. The lines were softer, more delicate. Beneath its feet, carved in tiny letters. Dad. Andrew froze. His face turned pale. His hands trembled as he cradled the doll like a sacred relic. Helen, he rushed next door. Helen opened the door, surprised. What is it, Andrew? She. Clara. She's alive. She left me a sign. Helen froze. Andrew held out the doll. She took it, eyes welling with tears. This isn't yours, the carving is different. It's her. My daughter. Clara is still alive. In a dark room, a hand quietly placed a carving tool on a piece of wood, tracing each line with care. A whisper broke the silence. I still remember the way home, Dad. But it's not time yet. Rebecca returned home in the late afternoon after several unexplained weeks of absence. The door opened, her high heels tapping sharply on the wooden floor. Andrew was sitting silently at his desk, his gaze hollow, still clutching the wooden doll someone had left in the mailbox. You still haven't let go of that ridiculous obsession? Rebecca's cold voice rang out. Andrew didn't look up, only asked, where have you been all month? You think I need to report to you? What's left in this house for me anyway? You live like a madman, clutching that rotten wooden box, repeating Clara's name as if she didn't run away. Andrew slowly stood, his voice low and rough. You know she didn't run away. Rebecca paused. A flicker crossed her eyes. What are you saying? I met someone who worked at the Haven. I know Clara was taken there. And I know who signed the papers. Rebecca laughed, but it sounded forced. Do you have proof? Or is this more of your delusions, like the last 10 years? Andrew stepped closer and placed Clara's letter on the table. I found this. Clara wrote that she was forced to go. She didn't leave willingly. Rebecca glanced at the letter, then turned her face away. She was just a kid. She hated me and made things up. You slapped her for wanting to be an artist, didn't you? Andrew asked directly. Rebecca frowned, stepping back slightly. She was disrespectful. I was teaching her discipline. A growing child needs structure. You call crushing her dreams discipline? You banned her from carving, from drawing, forced her into a specialized track, and when she resisted, you sent her away like a wild animal to a reform camp? Rebecca snapped, I did it for her own good. She was too soft. If she kept going like that, she'd ruin her life. I gave up my youth to move in with you and your daughter, and what did I get? A thankless brat and a man stuck in the past. Andrew slumped into a chair, hands trembling. I lost her. I lost myself. Because of you. You lost because you couldn't face the truth. Clara ran away because she couldn't take living with a weak father. The words pierced him like a knife. Andrew fell silent, eyes vacant as he stared out the window. Rebecca turned, grabbed her purse. I'm leaving. This time for good. I can't stand this house and its sick memories. Andrew didn't stop her. He only said, you'll pay for what you did. Not for me. For Clara. Rebecca paused, looked at him one last time, her voice icy, you have nothing. No evidence, no witnesses, no lawyer. Just a miserable old man clinging to delusions. Who's going to believe you? The door slammed shut. Andrew sat frozen. Outside, rain began to fall. Each drop rang like a cold, piercing bell. He bowed his head, and for the first time in years, let out a wounded scream. Helen, he whispered, then forced himself up and staggered to the neighbor's house. Helen opened the door, her face filled with worry. My God, Andrew, you look like a ghost. Rebecca's gone. She admitted everything. I've got nothing left to lose. Helen helped him inside and gave him a glass of water. Calm down. You need your strength. You can't break down now. I'm so tired, Helen. They're right. I'm just a useless old man, out of place in this world. No. You're Clara's father. That's why I've always stood by you. Even when the whole town laughed. He looked at her, choked up. I just want to hold her one more time. Helen took his hand. You will. I believe that. The next day, Christina the investigative journalist returned to Andrew, her eyes heavy. We've confirmed that Rebecca signed Clara into the Haven. The legal authorization was submitted by a man named Ethan Benson, her lawyer. He's represented many parents with issues about their kids. Andrew exhaled deeply. Ethan. I know him. Martin's old friend. It's all a network. Christina nodded. We're trying to track him down, but he's disappeared in the last few days. They might know we're investigating. Then we have to move faster. Clara might be trying to reach out. Christina pulled a drawing from her bag. Someone sent this to the newsroom. No name. Just for Andrew. It was a pencil sketch, a young girl standing at the gates of Santa Clara School, beside a man holding a wooden box. The drawing was delicate, but the lines trembled. In the bottom right corner, Dad still waits. Tears streamed down Andrew's face. Christina quickly handed him tissues. It's her. Clara's style. I'd never mistake it. Then she's still nearby. Or someone is helping her send messages. She knows I'm still waiting. Christina gently placed a hand on his shoulder. This is the time to raise your voice louder. We need a public interview. A video appeal. Not just words. People need to see your face, hear your voice. Andrew nodded, voice breaking. I'll do it. For Clara. A few days later, a short video was posted on social media. Andrew sat in front of the camera, holding the wooden doll. My name is Andrew Miller. I'm Clara's father. My daughter went missing 10 years ago. I was called crazy, delusional. But I know my daughter didn't leave me. She was taken. By people I once trusted. My second wife Rebecca Saunders. The school principal Martin Richards. They were part of a reform facility called the Haven. I don't want pity. I want truth. I'm not young anymore. My health is failing. But I won't stop until I find Clara. If anyone was ever there, ever met Clara, or knows anything about the Haven, please speak up. Even a message, a memory. I'll wait. I've always waited. The video ended with Andrew placing the doll in the wooden box and gently closing the lid. The response came faster than they expected. Christina called Andrew immediately. 3 people contacted us overnight. 2 former students, 1 former staff member. All said they saw Clara. One of them even kept a note she slipped them. We're getting close, aren't we? Andrew asked, voice trembling. Yes. But there's bad news. Rebecca has officially fled. The court issued a summons, but she didn't show. I'll find her. Whatever it takes. Night fell. Andrew walked into his backyard. He placed the wooden box on the table, opened it, and looked at the doll once more. Pale moonlight bathed the yard. And then, a sound at the gate. He turned. No one there. But a folded piece of paper lay on the ground. He picked it up, hands shaking, and unfolded it. Dad, I miss you. I can't show myself. But I'm watching everything. Don't give up. Don't trust anyone except your heart. Clara. Andrew clutched the note, collapsing onto the table in tears. In the darkness, a figure quietly slipped behind a wall. A small hand gripped a wooden knife, eyes filled with tears but burning with resolve. For the first time in years, Andrew stood in front of the school gate not just to wait. He carried the documents Christina had copied from Thomas's USB, a summarized student list, the old photo of Clara, and a copy of the authorization signed by Rebecca. Helen walked beside him. She wore a gray sweater and carried a large tote of cookies, a casual excuse to get into the school. "Who are we meeting?" she asked as they passed through the familiar iron gates. "The new principal. Her name's Teresa Moore. I heard she replaced Martin after he retired. You think she'll help? I hope she's not like the rest." The hallways looked the same, but everything felt foreign. Andrew walked slowly, as if each tile beneath his feet summoned a painful memory. The receptionist looked up. "Hello, can I help you? Do you have an appointment?" "I'm Andrew Miller. This is Helen Bennett. I'd like to speak with the principal. About Clara, my daughter. She was once a student here." The receptionist looked confused. "Please wait a moment." Within 5 minutes, a middle-aged woman with dark brown hair stepped out. She had a serious look, but not an unkind one. "I'm Teresa Moore. Please, come into my office." After sitting down, she opened her laptop and asked, "Your daughter is Clara Miller? Disappeared at age 14? "Yes," Andrew replied, handing over the folder. "I believe Clara was taken against her will. And someone at this school knew." Teresa scanned the documents, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. "I've only been here 3 years. None of this is in the archives." Helen can confirm Clara was summoned to the principal's office the day she disappeared. Mr. Martin Richards met with her that day. Helen nodded. "I was her literature teacher. I remember clearly. Clara was drawing during math class. That day, I saw her cry when she was called to the office." Teresa flipped to the last page of the file. She read it slowly, then looked up. "This authorization form, it has the school's stamp. Even though the signer is Rebecca Saunders, the stepmother of the student, it still required consent from the legal guardian. And I never signed anything. I never authorized Rebecca," Andrew said, his voice sharp. "Mr. Richards," Teresa murmured. "I've heard unpleasant rumors about him, but nothing ever concrete. However, if you're certain there was document fraud, I can request access to the internal archive records. We need to know on that day, did Clara really leave the school or not?" Teresa nodded. "I'll do my best. But you know how the old system is, a lot has been deleted." Helen was also a colleague of Mr. Martin. She can testify that Clara didn't leave on her own. Teresa looked at them both. "I believe you. And I think it's time we bring this back to light." That afternoon, Andrew received a phone call from Teresa. "I reviewed the surveillance records from that day. There's a missing segment from 9:30 to 10:15. The entire system went down. No explanation. And Clara disappeared during that window." "Yes. What about the logbook of students who went to the principal's office?" "It's there. Name, Clara Miller. Time in, 9:35. No recorded time out. You see. That's not a coincidence. That was intentional." Teresa's voice dropped. "I'll file an official report to the Board of Education. But you need to be prepared. If someone's behind this, they won't stay quiet." "Thank you. No matter what happens, I won't back down." That night, Andrew called Christina. "Can we use Teresa's findings?" "Yes. But it's best if she confirms them publicly. A statement from the principal holds a lot more weight. She's afraid of getting caught up in this. We'll protect our witnesses. But you need to understand, if this is a network trafficking children into illegal camps, it's not just Rebecca and Martin. This might go all the way up. I don't care who's involved. I just want Clara's truth to come out." Christina was silent for a moment, then said, "Tomorrow I'll take you to meet our lawyer, Mr. Belinda Nelson. She's helped with many education-related cases. But you'll need someone to back your claims. Helen will come. She saw Clara that day. And Teresa can verify the logbook entry. Good. We're getting close to the core of this. The next morning, lawyer Belinda Nelson's office was located in an old, stately building in the center of town. She welcomed them with a gentle smile and sharp eyes. Her silver hair was neatly tied back, her manner calm and composed. I've reviewed the files. What you've described isn't a first. But rarely does a parent go this far. I have nothing left but the truth. Belinda tilted her head. You need to be ready. We're going to file a motion to reopen the investigation into the disappearance of Clara Miller, with allegations of document falsification, abuse of educational authority, and unlawful detainment. Martin must face court. We'll issue a summons. But it's likely he's already fled. Helen interjected, I can testify. I saw Clara that day. And I've seen Martin's expression recently. He's hiding something. Belinda nodded. Your testimony will be recorded. Andrew, do you still have the letters Clara wrote? I've kept them all. Good. Then we have hope. That night, Andrew returned home alone. Outside his door was a small package. No one in sight. He bent down and picked it up. Inside was a thin piece of wood, carved with an image of a house with smoke coming from the chimney. On the rooftop, a tiny inscription, still here. Andrew shivered. He clutched the wood piece, sat down in his chair, and tears welled up. Clara, you're still watching over me, aren't you? He looked out the window. The night breeze brushed by like a soft touch. But in his heart, he knew Clara was not far. The next day, Andrew received a call from Teresa Moore, the principal at Santa Clara. Her voice over the phone carried a clear sense of urgency. Mr. Miller, I need to meet with you. Not over the phone. It's not safe. Andrew held his breath. Where? The small park behind San Antonio Church. 5 o'clock. I'll come alone. I'll be there. When he arrived, Teresa was already seated on a bench, holding a book, her gaze distant toward the stone statue nearby. You called me so urgently. What happened? Andrew sat beside her. She whispered, without looking at him, someone broke into my office last night. The file I'd kept on Clara, the copy, it's gone. Andrew clenched his fists. That's not possible. I didn't call the police. I was too scared. Whoever it was, had a key. Who do you think it was? Only the former vice principal Mr. David Owens used to work with Martin. He's been sneaking into the school a lot lately. And yesterday, I saw him talking to a red-haired woman. She looked just like Rebecca Saunders. Andrew narrowed his eyes. They're still here. And trying to erase all traces. I'm afraid I'll be fired if I keep helping you. You can step back. I won't hold it against you. Teresa turned to him, eyes locking. But I won't. I've stayed silent for too long. He nodded. Then let's keep going. We're almost at the center. That night, Christina Moore came to Andrew's house with a new folder in hand. I found more on David Owens. After leaving the school, he became a consultant for a nonprofit called Straight Path Network, an organization claiming to support at-risk youth. That name sounds familiar, Andrew said. It should. That organization has financial ties to the Haven. I dug into their ledgers. And guess who's listed as a co-founder? Martin Richards. Andrew went pale. That's right. And Rebecca donated to that organization regularly for 5 straight years. Andrew jumped to his feet. They're all connected, a full network. Exactly. But we still don't have enough evidence for formal charges. We need someone from inside the organization to speak out. Thomas? the former the Haven guard. I reached out. He refused to go public. Said someone's been tailing his son for the past few days. So they know he leaked. Christina nodded. I'm afraid someone might be silenced. We have to move fast. What about Ethan Benson, the lawyer who signed Clara's transfer papers? Still missing. Someone said he left the country. But it's unconfirmed. Andrew walked to the window, staring into the vast night. I'll see this through. Even if it kills me. Christina approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. You're not alone. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A wave of social media posts about Clara and the Haven were taken down. James's original article gone. Andrew's video appeal no longer accessible. The accounts used to post them suspended. Andrew called James immediately. What happened? Where's the video? Flagged for content violations. Reason, unverified and misleading information. My account's locked for 24 hours too. Someone's trying to silence us. Without a doubt. The system's been compromised, Andrew. They've got insiders. Andrew slammed his fist on the table. What do we do? James sighed. Only one option left: print newspapers. But who reads print anymore? I don't care. Print it. I'll hand them out. Door to door, market to market, corner to corner. All right. I'll do it. 2 days later, Andrew walked around town with a stack of printed papers. The truth about the Haven. Clara's father speaks out one last time. He handed them out to everyone he saw. Some took them out of curiosity. Some avoided him like a plague. A few tossed them into the trash right in front of him. Aren't you tired? A young man mocked. The whole town's sick of your story, an elderly woman scolded. Andrew simply bowed his head and kept walking. The sun scorched his skin, sweat rolled down his face, but he didn't stop. When he paused at a small roadside cafe, a familiar voice called out. Mr. Andrew. He turned around. It was Peter, a former classmate of Clara's. Peter, you recognize me? Of course. You stood at the school gates every day. I used to think you were crazy. But now. I understand. Understand what? I read the article. Anne. I remember the day Clara disappeared. I was the last one to see her in the second-floor hallway. She looked at me, but didn't say anything. Then walked toward the principal's office. Andrew held his breath. Can you testify to that? Peter nodded. It's not much. But it's the truth. Thank you, Peter. You don't know what this means to me. That night, Andrew came home utterly exhausted. He didn't turn on the lights, just sat silently in the dark. A knock on the door. He jumped up and opened it. It was Helen. Helen. What's wrong? Someone just came to the school. A young woman, asking about you. She said her name was Clara. Andrew froze. What? Helen swallowed. I'm not sure. But she asked me, do you know if Mr. Andrew Miller is still alive? Did you see her face? Where is she? I turned away for just a second, and she was gone. Like the wind. Andrew collapsed into the chair. It was her. It was Clara. It could be someone pretending. Be careful, Andrew. This could be a trap. No. I can feel it. The next morning, something appeared in Andrew's mailbox again. A small wooden leaf. On the back, 2 carved words, I remember. He held the little piece in his hand, tears streaming quietly. Clara was alive. And she was still fighting. The cold March wind crept through the cracks of the old wooden house. Andrew sat in the darkness, the dim desk lamp casting shadows over the deep wrinkles on his face and his red-rimmed eyes from sleepless nights. On the table, for small wooden carvings a leaf, a doll, a house, and a piece etched with the word Dad lay neatly side by side, a silent but unmistakable message. He whispered, "Clara. I've seen it. You're still out there somewhere. But why haven't you come back?" The phone rang. It was Christina. "Andrew, brace yourself. I have news." "Tell me." "We received a report from a former social worker named Raymond Evans. He used to work at a psychological rehabilitation center in Santa Fe. And 5 years ago, they took in a girl recorded as Mary Lawson. No family, no documents, but with a small scar on her right wrist." Andrew gasped. Clara had that scar. From when she cut herself carving wood. Exactly. Raymond said she was extremely gifted at wood carving. Always sculpted houses, tiny dolls. But she left the center 2 years ago. No one knows where she went. It's Clara. I know it's her. I sent him a picture of Clara. He's 90% sure it's the same girl. I'm trying to track where she went next. Andrew stood up. "I have to go to Santa Fe." "No, let me go first." "You're not strong enough, Andrew. Let me handle the travel." He sat down, his hands trembling. How has she lived all these 10 years? Christina hesitated. Raymond said she barely spoke to anyone. Very sensitive to loud sounds. Startled easily. Shows signs of severe trauma. Oh God, Andrew buried his face in his hands, tears streaming down. A week passed. No word from Christina. The loneliness returned, stronger than ever. Helen stopped by with bread. Seeing him motionless, she placed a hand on his shoulder. "Helen, if one day I'm no longer here, will you help Clara?" "Don't say that. I feel like I won't hold on much longer. I'm getting weaker every day. You have to hold on. We're almost there." "Not we. Just me. You have your family, your life." Helen sat down and held his hand. "I'm not leaving Clara. I never have." That afternoon, Andrew opened the window, letting sunlight into the house for the first time in days. He took out the wooden pieces, wiped the dust off each, and arranged them on a shelf like a miniature museum display. A knock at the door. Andrew opened it. A man in his 50s stood there, wearing a wrinkled shirt, dark circles under his eyes. "Sorry to bother you. I'm Raymond Evans. Christina sent me." Andrew froze. "Where is she?" "She was in a car accident on the way to Santa Fe. She's still in a light coma. But she told me I must find you. No matter what." Andrew invited Raymond inside. "Tell me. Where's Clara?" "She left the center 3 years ago. Didn't leave an address. Just a wooden carving with the words, 'I will find my way home.' I think she was looking for you. And no one heard from her since." "Once. I heard from a former coworker that a girl named Clara applied for a job at a small woodshop in the town of Asheville. But when asked about her family, she left immediately." "Asheville, that's less than 100 kilometers from here." Raymond nodded. "I think she's searching. Maybe, leaving signs for you." Andrew looked out the window, as if seeing something on the horizon. "I have to go to Asheville." "You can't go alone. I'll come with you." 2 days later, they arrived in the town of Asheville. They found the woodshop. Raymond had mentioned a small place called Soul Workshop. The owner was Dorothy, a Spanish woman with gray hair and thick glasses. "Excuse us, we're looking for a girl who came here a few years ago. Her name was Clara, or Mary. She was very skilled at wood carving. Had a small scar on her right wrist." Dorothy looked at them for a moment, then sighed. "I remember her. Quiet, but very talented. So delicate in her work. We adored her. But one day, two strangers came to the shop asking about her. Tense faces. Not from around here. What happened next? Andrew asked urgently. After that, she vanished. No goodbye. We searched, but never found her. Raymond asked, did she leave anything behind? Dorothy went inside and returned with a small wooden heart. Inside, carved delicately, were the words, Dad, don't give up. Andrew trembled. It's her. Clara was here. Dorothy held his hand. I hope you find her. She deserves a good life. When they returned home, Andrew found an envelope at his door. Inside was a drawing not in pencil, but charcoal, a man sitting at the school gate, holding a wooden box, eyes filled with longing. On the back, a fork in the road was drawn, one path led into the forest, the other toward home. At the bottom, handwritten words, I'm choosing the path. Andrew collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. That night, he didn't sleep. He just sat silently, eyes fixed on the door. Clara. I don't need you to choose. I just need to know you're alive. Just know that I'm still here. The phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Andrew's voice trembled. A female voice, soft as breath, Dad. His heart nearly stopped. He choked, unable to speak. Dad, are you there? Clara? Is it really you? Is it really you? I can't stay long. They're still looking for me. Who? Clara, I'll come find you. Just tell me where you are. No. Don't. If you come, they'll hurt you. I don't want that. I just wanted to say. I miss you. Clara, please, come home. I can't live without you another day. Her voice broke. Dad, you waited for me all this time. Always. Every day, I stood there. Like you told me. Like you once promised. I will come home. One day. Please take care of yourself. My daughter. I love you so much. I know. Beep, beep, beep. The line disconnected. Andrew clutched the phone, as if holding on to her soul through those final sounds. He sat there, alone, tears falling silently onto the wood. In the old house, the moonlight fell upon each carved piece, like Clara's eyes still watching over him. Morning. A misty sky. Andrew stood once again at the gates of Santa Clara School, as he had for 10 years. But today, something was different inside him. A warmth along his spine. His hand gripped the wooden box tightly. The wind was gentle. The air still. A taxi stopped across the street. The door opened. A young woman stepped out, small in frame, long black hair partially covering her face. She stood still, gazing at the school gates. Andrew didn't notice at first. But when his eyes met hers, he froze. Like a collision with memory. Those eyes, that stance. The girl walked toward him. Step by step. Slowly. As she got close, she stopped. Her eyes widened, glistening with tears. Dad, her trembling voice broke the silence. Andrew gasped. He staggered, almost falling. Clara, is it really you? Is it really you? It's me, Dad. He reached out and then rushed forward, embracing her tightly. Father and daughter burst into tears in the empty schoolyard. Helen, a voice called from afar. Helen turned, saw the scene, dropped her basket of bread, and ran over. My God! Clara! Still in her father's arms, Clara sobbed. I'm sorry. I couldn't come back sooner. They were always watching. I didn't want you to be in danger. It doesn't matter. All I need is that you're alive. Helen cried. She's grown so much. Clara smiled through her tears. You still look exactly the same, Miss Helen. Andrew held her hand tightly. Clara, tell me, what happened? After that day, where did you go? What did they do to you? Clara took a deep breath. After meeting with Principal Martin, they locked me in the office for 2 hours. They wouldn't let me call anyone. When I resisted, he said, "You're too defiant, you need correction." Then, someone drove me away. Who? Andrew pressed. It was Ethan. He held papers signed by Rebecca. Said he was taking me to a better learning environment. Andrew growled, she was only 14. Clara gripped his hand. They took me to the Haven. They called it a reform center, but it was really a prison. I was cut off from the outside, completely isolated. Every time I mentioned you, they punished me. Helen choked, dear God. I was there for nearly 3 years. No one visited. No one asked. I thought, maybe you believed I'd really run away. Andrew wept, no, Clara. I never believed that. I stood here, every day. For 10 years. Not a single day missed. Clara pressed her lips together, eyes brimming. I know. The wooden pieces you left in the mailbox. I kept them. Each time I saw one, I carved something in return. So you'd know I was still alive. Helen found the first one. I almost didn't believe it. Clara laughed softly through her tears. I was afraid of being found, so I could only send them in secret. But when I saw the article, the video you posted, I knew it was time. I searched everywhere. Asheville, Santa Fe, the old camp. I thought you'd disappeared forever. Clara shook her head. I never stopped thinking about you. Later, the 3 of them left the school gates and returned to the familiar wooden house. When Clara stepped inside, she froze. Everything is just like before. I didn't dare change a thing. I was afraid if you came back, you wouldn't recognize home. Clara reached out to touch the carved cat on the wall. I made this when I was 12. I remember. You got scolded that day for drawing during math class. Clara sat down on the old wooden chair. You still have the photo of me holding the doll. Here. Andrew held out the wooden box, the doll I carved for your 18th birthday. I've kept it for 10 years. Clara's hands trembled as she opened the box. When she saw the doll, she burst into tears. Dad. I've never been loved like this again. Andrew pulled his chair closer. You don't need anyone else. You just need to be yourself. A moment later, Helen walked in with 2 cups of tea. Clara, are you planning to stay? Clara nodded. I've run long enough. Now I want to face it. Anne. I want to speak out. Andrew squeezed his daughter's hand. Are you ready? I've waited 10 years for this moment. That night, Christina, now awake after the accident, called. Clara really came back. Yes, Andrew replied, his voice still shaky with emotion. Christina held back tears. Oh God, I didn't think this day would come so soon. Is Clara willing to meet with me? Tomorrow. She wants to tell everything. We'll organize a press conference. We need images, her testimony, and evidence. Other victims are waiting for someone to step forward. Clara took the phone. It's me. I'll say it all. Thank you, Clara. You're very brave. The next day, the meeting was held in a quiet cafe. Christina, journalist James, and attorney Belinda were all present. Belinda reached out. Clara, you've grown. I just want justice. Not just for me, but for all the children who had their childhood stolen. Christina turned on the recorder. Can you tell us everything, starting from the day you disappeared? Clara looked around, took a deep breath, and began. Each word shattered the air like a stone through glass. That day, all I wanted was to carve a cat. But they saw me as a rebel. Martin said I didn't belong in an academic environment. Rebecca signed the papers. She never asked my dad. The haven was hell. I thought about ending it all. But I couldn't. I still had my father. The room fell silent. Belinda asked, "Do you want to testify in court?" Clara nodded without hesitation. "I'll testify." Back home, Clara sat at her old work desk. "Dad, this desk is still sturdy. I still dust it every week." Clara pulled out a piece of unfinished wood from her pocket. "I started this, 3 years ago. Today, I want to finish it." Andrew handed her the old carving tools. "Still all here." Father and daughter sat side by side as the afternoon sun spilled through the window. "Dad, can we start again tomorrow?" "Yes. Tomorrow. A little workshop. You'll be the artist. I'll be the carpenter. Like before. Like we were never apart." 3 weeks after Clara's return, a special hearing was held at the Portland City Courthouse. News spread across all media: young woman missing for 10 years reappears, exposes secret reform camp network. Clara sat in the center of the room, tightly holding her father's hand, her gaze steady. Andrew wore an old white shirt, his gaunt face radiating unmistakable pride. Attorney Belinda Nelson began firmly, "Your Honor, my client Clara Miller did not run away from home as previously reported. She was legally kidnapped under the guise of education, held captive, silenced, and buried for years in a system operated by people who claimed to be educators." The judge nodded. "Call the main witness." Clara stood. The courtroom fell silent. "Your Honor, my name is Clara Miller. When I was 14, I was forced to leave school after a meeting with Principal Martin Richards. That day, I had only drawn a cat in my math notebook." Whispers rippled through the room. Clara continued, "I was detained for 2 hours, then a man named Ethan Benson arrived, holding a document signed by my stepmother, Rebecca Saunders. They took me away. No explanation. No notice to my father." Belinda held up a copy of the authorization form. "This is the document. It does not contain the signature of the legal guardian Mr. Andrew Miller. This is our first piece of evidence." The judge frowned. "Continue, Ms. Miller." Clara took a deep breath. "I was taken to the Haven. A reform camp in the mountains. There were no real classes, only forced, moral lessons. We were punished with isolation, starvation, screamed at like animals. Several people in the courtroom began to cry. I stayed there for 3 years. No phone calls, no letters. Anyone who spoke of family was punished." Belinda played an audio recording provided by Thomas, clearly describing the treatment of students. "Put her in room 3. She needs to learn obedience." The sound of a girl crying echoed through the speakers, freezing the room in silence. The judge said, "Are there any other witnesses?" Belinda nodded. "Call Mr. Peter Adams." Peter, a former student, stepped forward. "I was the last person to see Clara that day. She didn't seem like she was running away. She was walking toward the principal's office. Then, she vanished." Teresa Moore, the current principal, also spoke up. "I confirm the school's cameras were offline from 9:30 to 10:15 that day. Clara's name was signed into the logbook at 9:35. No sign-out recorded." The courtroom buzzed with murmurs. Rebecca Saunders was brought in next, handcuffed. Her red hair was disheveled, face worn. The judge asked, "Do you have anything to say about your signature on this document?" Rebecca lowered her head. I thought it was the best for her. You had no right to send Clara anywhere. Martin said if we didn't, she'd go bad. He knew people at the camp. They handled all the paperwork. You knew Clara hadn't run away. Yet for 10 years, you stayed silent and even blamed Mr. Andrew. Rebecca burst into tears. I was scared. I didn't think it would go this far. Andrew stood, his voice cracking. You didn't think? Clara was beaten, imprisoned, robbed of her entire childhood, and you call that not thinking? The judge banged his gavel. Order. Belinda said, we request criminal charges be filed against Rebecca Saunders for document forgery, complicity in the unlawful detainment of a minor, and deliberate concealment of critical information. The judge looked at Rebecca. Motion granted. The next hearing will be a criminal trial. Martin Richards was brought in, handcuffed. When he saw Clara, he turned away. But Clara stepped forward to face him. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Martin scoffed. You think you've won? This will all get buried. Just like always. Clara replied calmly, no. Because this time, I'm not alone. Belinda presented a list of 9 other victims who had come forward, including Lucy, Samuel's sister. The court will open a case investigating the entire operation of the Haven, including the involvement of Martin Richards, Ethan Benson, and all related organizations. Applause erupted throughout the courtroom. Andrew gripped his daughter's hand. You did it. Clara smiled. I'm just getting started. A month later, the Haven was officially shut down. Police and child protection agencies searched the site, uncovering dozens of suppressed records. Former students came forward to share their stories. Christina published a full investigative series titled The Forgotten Children. The articles shook the nation. In a televised interview, Clara said, I'm not a hero. I'm just a child who had her childhood stolen. But today, I've reclaimed my voice. The host asked, do you have a message for others? Clara turned to the camera, her eyes filled with tears. If you've ever stood alone in the dark, please believe, there's always light waiting at the end of the road. Don't let go. Andrew and Clara returned to their old wooden house. A week later, they opened a small woodcarving studio, the name painted on the sign, Hope Workshop. Peter came to help. Helen visited often with pastries and coffee. Raymond brought his son to learn carving. Clara taught the children how to carve little dolls, telling them the story of the first hug after 10 years. Miss, is it really true someone can wait 10 years for someone else? A little girl asked. Clara smiled. Yes. And when you finally meet again, every wound starts to heal. One weekend afternoon, as sunlight poured through the windows, Andrew softly asked, do you regret anything? Clara was carving a leaf and paused. No. Because everything led me back to you. I never imagined this day would come. And I never gave up hope. Outside, the wind gently stirred the trees. Children's laughter echoed in the distance. Inside, a father and daughter sat side by side, carving wood, etching the pieces of a life that had finally come together again. This story is a powerful reminder that love, patience, and faith are never in vain. For 10 years, Andrew never stopped hoping, despite mockery, isolation, and despair. A father's unwavering love became the light that led Clara back home. At the same time, the story strongly denounces abuse of power and complicit silence, affirming that justice comes when the truth is bravely spoken. Even if delayed, justice can restore what once seemed lost.
If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.